Most people don't want to be an astrologer when they grow up. I only know one person actually who wanted to be an astrologer when she grew up, and fortunately she's one now. But most people become astrologers later in life, usually around the age of 30 or even older, and they come from another profession. For me, that profession was investigative reporting. I covered public higher education, and then I covered environmental issues, in particular scientific fraud involving chlorine-based chemicals. So that was an extraordinarily technical and legally contentious field of journalism that I was in. And then in the summer of 1994, I had a kind of an awakening experience, and I began exploring astrology to see, actually to investigate how it works. I had no conscious motive that I set out to actually do astrology or be an astrologer. I just saw it working over and over again, particularly in the New York Post horoscope, and like a number of other people who've gotten into the field, I set out to find out how this actually worked. And I progressed in that exploration, and then finally one day decided that it was time to actually do astrology rather than just investigate it. And so I began about a year later writing a horoscope column called The Navigator, which appeared in a local entertainment newspaper called Free Time. And that column, The Navigator, from Free Time, began what is today, about 15 years later, known as Planet Waves. And it has been published in Australia, Europe, the UK, England, Canada. I believe it's been translated into additionally Spanish, Japanese, Italian, and other languages, I guess British if you want to count that as a translation. And so it starts as a local, it starts as an investigation personally, and then ends up as basically an international horoscope column. I guess everything has its point of beginning, but I never I never set aside the investigative journalist in me. I never let go of that burning curiosity for how the world works, and finally, actually fairly soon in my astrology career, began researching the intersection of news events and astrology to see exactly what was going on at the time of major news developments. And from that, I developed a kind of investigative astrology where I am able to look at a very complex political situation. It might be the healthcare debate. It might be the war in Afghanistan, or the election of a new president, and take that both as a news event, as a cultural transition in the zeitgeist, in the feeling of life, and also bring that same astrological perspective into the lives of the individual people who are living through those events, but also living through their own personal growth and their own personal development at the same time. Most of what you'll experience in life will either take one position, this is a news event, this is why it matters to society, or the other position. They'll take something that's deeply personal, and it will never have a context in a larger social environment. It's only about what's going on within oneself. And I have observed that this creates a kind of a split where there's this seeming world of politics on one side and this world of personal events and experiences on the other side, and the two never seem to meet. And my intention for astrology, and what I'm striving to do with it every single day, is to explore that meeting point between the personal and the political, where personal material is projected out and expands out into political realms. I mean, many of the most political stories we see emerge from deeply personal values that people have. And then also look at political events and political and cultural and social developments and historical developments, and then ground those in what that means as a human being living through it at the time. And that is the mission of Planet Waves Astrology News.